And we are live. Right, welcome everybody to our regular Tuesday Tat Chat on the 4th of July. And what better way to celebrate 4th of July than to get one of our American friends on? So we'll introduce you to who we have as a guest. Well, it says it in the title anyway, so I'm sure you all know. But before that, I just want to say a quick hello to Zaheer. How are you, mate?
Hi everybody. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Just excited to be on this this Tat Chat. Like you said, 4th of July, and we've got a very apt guest for it.
Indeed. So how are you, Chad? Do you want to do, we were just saying before we went live, it's really awkward doing introductions for yourself, but do you want to, for those that may be watching this who haven't seen your channel, not sure there'll be many, to be honest, do you want to explain who you are and what you do for us?
Sure. I'm Chad. I'm the Golden Finger Picker. My wife is the Florida Picking Queen. We've got a YouTube channel here on YouTube, and we're, I guess, what you would call old school pickers. We are out for the thrill of the hunt to find those treasures out there. And you don't see us very often in retail stores doing anything like that, but we love thrift stores, auctions, estate sales, yard sales. Don't even say that. But yeah, we just love going out and finding the unique, macabre type things.
Fantastic. So give us an idea, how long are you both full-time doing this? Do you work together, and how long has that operation been going on?
Well, we have been doing this for over 20 years in different aspects, you know, because before the early days of eBay, I mean, we were just hustling, you know. I mean, we were the people would come to when they wanted something that was kind of hard to find. And, you know, we had the old Covell's antique books and, you know, just the old stuff. And we'd go out searching for things for people. And we started out, you know, the secondhand market stuff because we had to. You know, the kids were young and we would buy their clothes secondhand. We never bought anything new. So, I mean, it was kind of inbred, you know, through our childhood and growing up that's just what you do. So, but yeah,
I think that's a common theme with a lot of people who get into this game, come from a relatively sort of frugal background, and we've had to make do. We've had secondhand stuff as kids and hand-me-downs, and then you're not scared to deal in secondhand stuff, and it kind of comes natural, doesn't it?
It does, especially my wife. You know, she grew up doing it before me. I mean, her dad was a hustler and her grandpa was a hustler, and she was the one that they would put her on the side of the road because they had farms selling corn and watermelons to people. And, you know, she would negotiate, hey, you know, if you buy this, we'll give you this. And so she's been doing it since she was young. But I was always that boy in school that would bring gum or candy, sell a piece of gum for $0.25. I mean, and back in those days, which that was a lot of money. I mean, you can get, you know, you buy a pack of gum for $0.25 and you could end up selling that pack for almost $2, you know? So it's like, that's a pretty good profit for, you know, grade school.
I think that's a running theme with a lot of resellers that you meet, actually, that everyone seems to have that story where when they were at school, they remember back that it was in their blood. I mean, just by you talking about that, it reminded me that we used to make paper puppets and sell them to our friends, like just literally lame little puppets, which, you know, you'd be able to do that, and would sell them for like, I don't know, 20 pence or something. And, you know, we started our own little kind of enterprise there, and rubber band balls and things like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the old pencil top erasers. I mean, the ones that had like monsters and stuff on them, those things, if you go back and look at monster erasers, those things were huge, and only the rich kids' parents bought those. And, you know, but I ended up with them because I was able to hustle and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just all about, and the teachers used to, I mean, you looked at candy back in those days, like they look at pot nowadays, you know, it's like against the rules, you know, especially if you're selling this stuff in school. So, so yeah, you had to be that candy dealer, you know, so.
It's interesting that you started off back in school, because I think there's a certain element of what we do that you can't really teach. It's in you already. And the fact that you were doing it at school, and I've got similar stories, as has Zaheer, it just shows that there's that little entrepreneurial spark that was already in us, and we've just turned that into a business as we've evolved with it, I guess.
Yeah, it's I call it a mindset. You know, it's that hustler mindset. And so many people look at the word hustler as negative, you know, like, oh, you got hustled out of your money, or you got, you know, scammed, or because a lot of people, I don't know how it is over there, but a lot of times when you see somebody, you know, oh, he's a hustler, it's given a negative tone instead of a positive for what we do, you know, because it's all up here. And that's the way I see it here.
Yeah, I just see it that when I see a scenario, an opportunity, my mind is instantly thinking, how can I make on this? And
Yeah,
I've always been that way, no matter what it is, no matter what element of my life, I've always been trying to spin it so I can earn something out of it, and that, yeah, generally pays off.
Yeah.
I just want to dip into the chat before we get carried away. Who was in first? It was Jason in first tonight. Lots and lots of people popping in to say hi, which is fantastic. Lonnie's in there. I think a bunch of the six-pack guys have come in, which is great.
Over 115 people watching already, which is fantastic. Yeah, got a few people sharing their stories as well. You know, reminiscing about the old school days. I was always the sweetie kid in school, says Peter Hill. So.
Yeah,
he's the one I'd get his money. I'd get his lunch money. He wants that candy. And
yeah, lots and lots of people saying hi to Chad. Really popular guest.
Oh, I see a lot of people I recognize, and they're all good people. I mean, I've met so many good people from this social media reseller community, and it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, we've said before that the people often ask us on this show and on other shows we do, why are you on YouTube talking about this? Isn't it a negative thing? And I say, well, you can look at it that way. But what I've gained out of this, and Zaheer has said this, and I think you've said similar things, is the community. And it sounds a bit cliche, but it's true, because it is a lonely venture doing this. It can be a really lonely pursuit. I knock around in this, what was my garage. Luckily, I work with my wife as well, so I have that interaction. But you can spend hours without seeing people, hours and hours and hours. So having the interaction of YouTube, the Facebook groups, has been a godsend for me. And that leads on to a question I was going to ask you, because you recently come off the back of the reseller rally. So for those who may not have heard about this, being in the UK, do you want to briefly tell us what that was and what was the thought behind that and how it went?
Yeah, this is our T-shirt from the reseller rally this year. It was in Chicago, and this is the skyline of Chicago. But no, Pete, the Craigslist hunter, Ronnie Hart, and myself, we talked about this for a long time, well over a year, about how cool it would be to just bring everybody together.
Yeah,
and so we finally said, let's do it. So we brought on some people, and we picked Chicago, and you know, with it being the first time, we're really nervous, and we're putting money out of our own money, you know, to secure it and then everything else. It's like, let's do 200 people, let's sell 200 tickets, and hope people would want to come. And sure enough, they sold out really quick, and I think we actually sold like 240 tickets total. So, but we filled this place up in Chicago and met a ton of awesome people. And, you know, you don't have an excuse next year, Nick, because there was somebody that came from the UK. So, yeah. So no excuses now, brother. But no, it turned out, I think it was better than any of us had expected. There's always room for improvement, but we're really happy with the way it turned out. Really happy, and we're looking forward to doing the next one, hopefully in Orlando.
So what's the objective to teach a bit? Because I know you had sort of like conversations, didn't you? Had a stage set up where some of you did talks. So
yeah, we did, but it was more of a networking event, because we weren't putting all of us have YouTube channels, and none of us hold anything back on our YouTube channels, if you know what I mean. We don't sit back and say, well, there's a secret to this, and we're not going to tell them. But if you want to know that secret, come see us at the reseller rally. You know, we didn't want to market it that it was about us at all, because it wasn't. It was about coming together and networking with fellow resellers. And I took a lot of time during this event and just kind of sat back and looked around, and what we saw were people doing what we hoped would happen. You would see groups of people that had never met each other, but they were talking. And so it went on that way for the whole weekend. And it was a constant thing. It's like, I'd come up to Ronnie and it's like, man, look at this. I mean, you see people just all talking, and there's really nobody sitting by themselves. Everybody was engaged with everybody. And there's been several, and probably more than I'm even aware of new relationships kindled, business relationships. People are going on trips together to go source. And that's what it was about. It was a rally. And one of the things we say when somebody says, well, what's there to be learned going to a rally from you guys, because you share everything on YouTube? And we say, well, you don't go to a motorcycle rally to learn how to ride a motorcycle. It's about coming together as a community. So I learned stuff. So there's stuff out there to be learned.
I mean, I think from the videos I watched that you guys put up, like the live streams, I think Lonnie did them, yourself, obviously, and Ronnie and a lot of other people shared their day. And I think the great thing that you guys have got to be proud of is that you were like the facilitators. I suppose that's the thing. Like you said, you didn't put yourself on a pedestal. It wasn't about that. Like you said, it wasn't about, you know, come here and, you know, listen to us because we've got like a self-inflated ego or anything. It wasn't like that. It was very much that you guys have got, you know, you've created a community on YouTube. You've got like a really successful Facebook page as well, haven't you? Am I right? I don't know. I don't want to put my foot in it.
It's the Reseller Society.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you just facilitated this amazing thing, and I think like the buzz that you could see on people's face, it was really epic. And it's something that, like Nick mentioned, this can be such a solitary thing to do. You don't know, you know, you didn't even, a lot of people in the UK especially, they don't talk about it. And if Nick hadn't, you know, popped up a few years ago and started his channel, you know, all these people suddenly they haven't just started reselling. A lot of the people we know in the community often come in and say, I've been doing this for X years. And it's just that obviously Nick's channel and then the reselling pages here in the UK, etc., have allowed a platform for everyone to come out and meet each other. And I think the rally is like a pinnacle of that in a way. So, you know, that was what I loved about it.
Yeah. I think I just can't express just the joy to see it turn out the way it did. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, I watched your
video. It was expensive.
Where you and Kim were standing there just saying that you were almost in shock that it was such a huge success that it was.
I mean, it was one of the most humbling things that we've ever dealt with. I mean, because you really feel, I don't know, it just really makes you feel, if you're the type of people we are, you know, when somebody comes up to you really excited to meet you, and it's like, it kind of just makes you feel funny because we're just who we are. Why is it so, you know, but it was just one of the most humbling experiences of our lives. And there are just so many good people out there. And I don't know, it can be tough in this community, but this community is one of the most critical communities, but they're also one of the most giving and accepting. So, but yeah,
I've seen that. And I think a lot of the YouTubers, we've all seen this. We're the ones who are kind of putting our head above the parapet, really. And you have to be prepared to take some flack. And we've all had it. Sure. But I think the benefits of what we get out of it personally outweigh that anyway. And that's why we soldier on and keep going. Certainly for me anyway.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always said, you know, so many people ask, well, why do you do this? You're creating competition for yourselves. And I'm thinking, really, dude, there's enough to go around. And I don't know if this is where you're going to go, but the way I see this is I look at myself as a well-rounded picker. Okay. And if I'm telling people that Polaroid cameras, you know, sell for $32 on eBay, pretty much like that, Okay. And then all of a sudden everybody goes out and buy Polaroid cameras, and, now they're selling for 22, or if they even drop to 15, I'm such a, there's 100 other things out there. But by me sharing that information, I get back tenfold, and everything else. I mean, I have a platform to where I can tell people how much I love Selena stuff, so I kind of have an army of people out there looking for Selena stuff that I can get at a decent price from them. So ultimately, I don't do it because of that, but everything comes back tenfold in the overall big picture.
Yeah, it's a perk. I just need to say before we carry on, Tonya, who is on the six pack with us, just super chatted us $5.
Oh, she is awesome.
There's good stuff, guys. So thanks for that. Really.
Yeah, thank you. That's very, very generous.
Yeah.
Tonya Thrifty Treasures is her YouTube channel.
I mean, oh God, what was I going to say now? just had a brain fart there. it's just gone.
We've had that argument about why are you sharing? Surely you're damaging your own business, etc. And I'm almost sick of talking about that aspect, because it's like, and people have told me point blank, you're ruining it for yourself. And I'm like, well, why 3 years after starting this channel, is my business bigger and better, more efficient than it was then? Well, more efficient, maybe not. I've still got a backlog that's ridiculous. But yeah, it's
ultimately we're better off. We're better off. And that's the thing. You can say, you can use the word karma. You can say whatever you want. I don't like to use karma, but ultimately, the more you help people, the more time that you're putting in to somebody else, and not, concentrating on me, you're going to benefit. Because once you get out of that me thing, and you start helping other people, you in turn will be blessed. I mean, if that makes any sense. That's my Kim and I's outlook on it. And hey, there's Kareem Williams. Kareem Williams, when you get to know people, is when their true personality comes out. And the more you get to talk with people, because I know Kareem and I, we hated each other, but it was a superficial hate. No. And this is true when it comes to the reseller community. It was a superficial hate. It's like, I didn't like him because I wasn't supposed to like him type thing. Right. Yeah. And it's same with, it's superficial. It doesn't really mean anything, but picking up the phone and talking to people, it's like, man, we have so much in common, and he's actually a good guy, so yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I recommend everybody to
taking the direct approach.
Yeah.
And since I've got to know you a little bit in our side chat, I know that you're an advocate of taking the direct approach when you have an issue, which I think is fantastic. And it's
it really is, because things can be derailed so easily when you don't understand the context of something or something like that. And man, just talking to somebody one-on-one, you can really hash a lot of stuff out. Absolutely. And network with people and create relationships with people. And
I think it's a roadblock some people have about the whole sharing idea, where they feel like they're losing by sharing. But like you said, they need to kind of get over that. And I think, like, it was Jim Rohn that actually, I remember saying something about the rule of reaping and sowing is you don't just reap what you sow, you always reap more than you sow. And that's such a true fact, that you always get, like you said, you get tenfold, you said, back what you give out. And once you can appreciate that, it's definitely something that can only help you grow as a reseller as well. I mean, it's not just a social alone, is it? I mean, there's got to be a little bit more to it as well.
I just need to say that we mentioned Kareem Williams a minute ago. He actually super chatted me as well, so thank you so much. And he says in his comment there, thank you for being awesome. So there you go.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, I can see, okay, with the sharing of information, and one thing I preach is be really careful niching up, because that's where you can be hurt really by the market. Is if you're niching up, if you're a Dunkin' yo-yo salesperson and that's all you sell are Dunkin' yo-yos, okay, that's it. It probably wouldn't be a good idea to spill the beans about Dunkin' yo-yos if you're on an expert level, because if you're niched up, this is where you could be hurt by sharing information. That's really creating competition for yourself. If that's all you do and you're depending on that very small niche market, I can see where people might get hurt doing that. And that's why I'm always preaching, recommending to broaden your horizons, become proficient in several things. You don't have to become an expert in everything, but be proficient in several things and continue to learn in this business. And, you know, if the Dunkin' yo-yo market crashes, you'll be okay, because it's just as easy as, you know, becoming a vintage pocket knife dealer. I mean, it's just as long as you're learning in this business, then you should be able to roll with the punches that the market deals out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that leads on to what I was going to ask next, actually, which is, what is it you sell? I know recently you had that amazing haul of military stuff from one source, which was an epic pickup. So do you specialize in military, or what is the sort of spread of subject matters you go into, or niches? Is it as broad as, like, you'll buy and sell anything with money in it? How do you, you know, what are your limits with what you'll buy?
Yeah, I do not specialize in anything. I really enjoy older things. I love learning the history of stuff. I mean, I'll go from Boy Scout patches because I came across a lot of Boy Scout stuff. So guess what? I'm going to learn about Boy Scout patches, Indeed. Vintage Boy Scout patches. So there isn't anything that I really stick to. One thing I always say is the one thing you don't want to do in this business is walk past something that will make you money. And until you can keep that from happening, you just need to keep learning and learning and learning.
And there's so much to learn. I put a video out yesterday or the day before when I went to a yard sale trail. In the UK, generally we go to car boot sales, which is everyone selling in a field. But this village had set up a load of independent houses selling from their yards. And I filmed me going around, and I've already had 3 or 4 messages from people saying, Nick, you walked past a so-and-so. Nick, you walked past this. This is worth money. And it's true. I don't know everything, and I don't proclaim to know everything. But through sharing that video, I've now learned that's worth money. That's worth money. You know, so it all comes around and it all helps. But what I'm saying is, I don't know everything, and I'm learning every day. If you've seen any of my haul videos, I try and pick up something new every week if I can. It might be a fail, but I've still learned not to pick those up, which is as valuable as knowing what to pick up.
Well, the key is, if you don't recognize something, you need to find out what it is and whether it's worth picking up or not. Yeah. And then, because once you do that, you'll have it in your database for the future. Next time you see it, it's not worth anything. And if you're, I kind of call myself like a professional student. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to learn different things. And there are certain things I just haven't bid onto yet, like glassware, you know, vintage glassware, crystal and stuff like that. I just haven't. I'm probably passing up money, but there's just so much stuff out there that you can only take on so much.
Indeed.
How much would you say you're, you know, trying not to niche yourself in, as you say? How much would you say that's down to you describing yourself as an old school picker, as opposed to say like someone that's reselling and doing things such as retail arbitrage?
Yeah, as far as when I say an old school picker, I mean, back in the day, you didn't go and dig through somebody's garage to find Boy Scout patches. Okay, you went and dug through somebody's garage to find anything that would make you money, and and that's what I mean by old school picker. An old school picker or an old school seller is somebody who they're out and they're scanning anything they see that's a pickup. They'll buy it and try to resell it, whether it's a car sitting on blocks in a driveway or a Hawaii souvenir spoon. I mean, it's just, that's how broad it is. And there's nothing that intimidates me as far as like, oh, I'm scared to death to get into it. If somebody, you know, if I come across a piece of crystal and, you know, it's like, oh, this is a $5,000 piece, I'm going to research that and figure out if it is and stuff like that. So there's really nothing that intimidates me because I'm confident enough in what I'm doing to where I can make an educated decision on something. But yeah, old school pickers, and it's not an insult to somebody who's doing retail arbitrage, but that's our definition. You know, I'm not a RA, and
yeah, I do a fair bit actually, but I do that and this, and I find it helps to have a lot of things in a lot of pies. It keeps those revenue streams coming in all the time. I do Amazon. I send a lot of RA up there, but there's nothing that beats going out and finding new stuff. And I was going to say, do you think that's what has kept it interesting for you, finding new niches all the time? Because that certainly does for me. When I tried a number of years back, I specialized and I did nothing but Lego. I love Lego, but boy, did I get bored out of my mind doing that one thing. So quickly I dropped that and I went back to doing anything.
Yeah, well, and that's a really good point. Because this is kind of about Kim and I. We're like retired, okay? So for me to say we're 100%, I'm not going to do that, because our goal right now in life is to enjoy life. We put ourselves in this position to where, if I just turned my eBay store off for like 3.5 weeks, I think, when we went to the rally. I just didn't want to mess with it. I didn't want to ask questions, you know, from buyers.
Yep.
And so we put ourselves in a position to where if we want to turn off our eBay and go on vacation or go do something, then that's what we do. And right now our mindset is we're going to do this until it's not fun. And then you need to think, because that's where we're at in our lives. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to go scan a bunch of books. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. I'm not going to go stand and just scan 1,000 books. I'm not going to go into a Walmart and scan a bunch of stuff on the shelves. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that would put me in the grave so early. But that's personal. Yeah. But on the other hand, I'll be the first one to tell you that if something happened and to where I needed to scan books, or I needed to go into a Walmart and do some retail arbitrage because I need the money, by God, I would do it. I would go work at McDonald's if I had to. I'm just that type of, I'll do whatever I have to do that right now it's, you know, as long as we enjoy it, then we're all about it.
I think also part of this, you know, with a lot of times people talk about like the lifestyle of a reseller, and, you know, it's something that's part of it's in you, like the spark is in you. I'd say part of the lifestyle has to also be like a hunger for knowledge, you know, and that's what's going to help you not pass up money and learn about new things. You've got to enjoy sinking hours sometimes, which might not immediately bring you returns, but you'll be ready next time, and you will have a like not just like a skim knowledge. I mean, you can have like a deep knowledge. I've picked up knowledge on so many different things since starting this. It's ridiculous. I mean, you know, like from action figures to vintage hi-fi to like clothes, footwear, anything. I mean, there's so many different niches in each of those areas alone that you could spend years learning about. And if you don't have that hunger, I think you will struggle to break out of the few niches that you naturally enjoy.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people say, you know, anybody can do this. It's easy. It's not. It takes years to perfect. I mean, years to perfect, to be any type of success story, you know, in this. You know, while you can learn the basics on the low barrier to entry stuff like scanning books, because you have something that tells you this book is worth buying or it doesn't. And it's right there. It's telling you what to do. And you just go through the motions and do it. But if you did that for 15 years, you wouldn't need a scanner. Okay. You would be able to say, okay, this book, look at the binding. As you're walking by, you can see the binding on this book and you're like, oh, I need to look at that. And that's how it grows. No matter what you're doing, if you put the time into something, you're going to become proficient in it, whether it's, keeping up on what's hot with toys. And, so when you go into the store for your retail arb, you don't need to scan it because that's a hot item and you pick it up. So it's all about what you're wanting to put into this, and nothing comes easy. It's not an over the night success story. And most of these that are pushing an overnight success story don't tell people that they're dropping 50 grand a month. They got the capital to drop all this money to make, 10 grand. So, but we're really happy. Kim and we're really happy between 5 and 10 grand a month. I've got my military pension, and now it's about living life.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because I get a lot of questions. I'm sure you've had this question loads of times. People just message me straight out and say, Nick, how much do you earn? And can I do that? There's two very different things. I don't think it's relevant what I earn, because my circumstance will be different to yours,
sure,
to somebody else's outgoing. So it's almost an irrelevant question. And then just because I do it doesn't mean somebody else could. I mean, it's taken me almost exactly 15 years of doing this full time to get to where I am. So you can't, there's no fast track to this point. So it's almost pointless me saying any response to that question. I generally come back and I say, I can't tell you what you can earn. I can only share what I do and how I do it. And, it's then up to the viewer to take it on and do with the information what they will, really.
Yeah, there's a big misconception out there, and I know that I do it, and I know Ronnie, Pete, everybody else does it that's been doing this any amount of time. You kind of give off this impression that it's easy, and we have to keep reminding ourselves that we're talking to a lot of people who are really desperate, and they're very hungry. And when they see somebody succeeding at something, they want to imitate it or mock it, and they expect the same results, when there are so many contributing factors to what we're doing in our particular business. To not many people could probably totally mimic what we do. And you just have to take bits and pieces, what you find, try to apply it to your business. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you're trying.
That's a very good point, actually, because it's something that me and Nick have discussed a few times before as well, that you, without meaning to, I mean, even though you do try to show the grind and the gritty side of it, the times when things aren't going so well, the rough side of it, overall, people will still just take the positives from you. So no matter how honest and brutal you are about the negatives, people will still just look for the good part, because that's what they want to feel that they've got hope as well. And I think that's something that's really important to bear in mind when you're watching any reselling channel on YouTube, that bear that in mind, that look at the overall picture.
Yeah.
I was just looking in the chat, lots of people popping. I just want to say hi to Margaret, Texas Girl Treasures, who's in there. Lots of people popping in to say hello, which is fantastic. Diana says, question, your show with Scavenger Life was epic. How did you persuade them to come on your show?
Me or you?
I guess that's you.
Oh, you know what I did? I called Jay on the phone. That's what I did. It's really that easy, guys. Sometimes it just, you ask them, and they'll do it.
Well, it's funny because sometimes you watch people on YouTube and they've got quite a big profile, they're popular, and you think, I'm not going to ask that guy because it just feels odd. He's a bit, and this is how I felt approaching yourself, Chad, until we got talking in that side chat and we went on the reseller 6-pack. But what you realize is that I'm just an ordinary guy. You're just an ordinary guy. It just happens we're doing quite well on YouTube in our tiny little niche. That's all it is.
That's all it is. That's all it is. I mean, dude, if you don't mind, I'm not saying this big headed or anything, but this is kind of how comfortable it can be sometimes. We were at the hotel for this rally, right? And I was outside, and I guess one of the attendees was checking in at the desk. I walked in the doors, and this dude just started going crazy, man. I mean, yeah, he's like, oh my God. And he stopped checking in. We had the people behind the counter standing there, and he just started doing this. I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. Glad you could come, you know, and everything else. And so I ended up letting him finish checking in and stuff. And I went and talked with Kim, and I went outside, and Pete was outside, and I walked outside. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy, man. This is just what happened. And he's like, did he have this? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, when he came outside, he got in his car and was driving away. And then he saw me, stopped his car in the middle of the lane, jumped out, and he did the same thing to me. And it's just so humbling. But it's like when I met Pete, I mean, Pete's huge. You know, he's awesome. And it's easy to fanboy Pete because he's just cool.
Yeah.
But Pete's just a regular guy, just like us. I mean, I think with this community, that's all it is. We just doing our thing.
What I say is I just happen to be that guy who started doing YouTube in the UK. There's thousands of resellers like me. There's ones that are much more successful than me. There's ones that are more efficient,
Sure.
more clever, more all of this. I just happen to be the one banging on about it on YouTube. That's all the difference. That's it. Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, and this is just my outlook. Somebody could have 1 million subscribers, you know, and that wouldn't stop me from, you know, being like, I would just be like, hey, what's up? I'm not intimidated by anybody's success, I guess, or I'm not intimidated by anybody or by somebody who's not it. To me, we're all peers, you know. It's all, whether you make $1,000 a month or if you make $100,000 a month in reselling, we're all peers, you know. We're just at different levels.
Absolutely. And we all manage to learn from each other. I was going to say earlier about Zaheer's videos. I've learned so much about stepping out of my comfort zone with tech, to the point where on Saturday I picked up a mixing board, and that's totally down to
Wow.
And I paid 20, and I'm going to flip it for hopefully 100. And I would have gone past that if it wasn't for videos that Z's put out. So yeah, that's where the whole it comes back round thing comes into it as well.
Dude, I'm telling you, and I don't know if people recognize this on my wall right here, but that was hanging in Pete's shop for 5 years. And he surprised me and gave it to me at the rally because I had wanted it, and he said it wasn't for sale. So that's the Laurel and Hardy piece that if you look in his videos at the end of his counter when he's talking with people, this was up on the wall.
Oh, cool.
At the end of his counter. So I love it. I loved it as soon as I saw it.
Fantastic. Now, I've got a few questions written down. I'm just going to see, because as per usual, we've kind of covered most of it just talking. So let me see. Oh, this was an interesting one that we spoke about in one of the Hangouts. You've spoken a lot about being an advocate of just putting it out there, saying to people, I'm a reseller, I buy stuff, I sell it for profit, it's what I do. For those that perhaps haven't seen your channel and your sort of ethos on that, do you want to explain how that works?
Yeah. I guess we're just the type of people that a lot of people who are ashamed and are afraid to tell people that they're resellers because they're afraid of the reaction that they're going to get. Because, you know, resellers, hustlers, we've gone through this period to where you were lower than the scum, you know, under somebody's shoes because they were taking advantage of people or anything like that. But what we've found over the years is saying you're a reseller is probably one of the best negotiating tools out there. And because once you say you're a reseller, you automatically are saying, look, I need to make a profit on this. And but yeah, we've always, over the years, we found that we're better off telling people than not. And of course, there are always times when you just don't, because it just wouldn't really work. So you're in there as somebody buying something, and there's just no reason to tell them what you do. So, but typically, yeah, we have business cards, and if we go out to dinner, we'll put a business card in the check bill thing. You know, it's a really simple: who we are, buy, sell, trade, our phone number, and our email address. You know, and it's that simple. And the key is to make that connection. We've talked with waitresses before. She's like, "Oh yeah, I've got my aunt. She passed away, and her house is full of stuff, and we don't know what to do with it." I mean, that's how it happens. It's that simple. Buy, sell, trade. What kind of stuff do you buy? We'll buy anything that'll make us money. Why? You got stuff for sale? Yeah, I've got this thing out in the garage. I don't really know what it is. And then that's your door. And it's all about opening that door, opening that line of communication with somebody. That's how we do it.
I've got to just say, Steph Resale Killers has just super chatted $15.
Oh,
which
yeah, I just met them today. Well, I mean, on messages. And if you don't know, Stephen, you need to verify your account. That's what they're saying. That's why it's not showing up now. It's you either block me or it says that you have to verify your account. And it's probably because of your name on Facebook.
Okay.
So
but he says in the message on the super chat says, "You guys are killing it. Keep speaking the truth." So he's appreciating what we're saying.
yeah, and there's some people that just don't like that for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know. Nobody's ever given me a good argument. I can argue all day of why it's beneficial to, you know, help people succeed and, you know, make a living for their family. You know, but I haven't really been able to, I haven't ever been shut up by their argument yet, you know?
Yeah. And I do want to move away from that because we all talk about it too much, really. But let's say their argument that we are somehow harming ourselves or reselling in general, let's say they've got a point. It's still our prerogative to talk about it and it's up to us. So whatever.
Yeah. Ultimately. Yeah.
I think my bugbear tends to be the BOLO argument. You know, the whole that if you share something that's rare, it's going to lose value. Well, no, the only thing that can potentially happen is you might educate someone who's local to you that happens to be at the same place at the same time as you, who you might have educated to an item that they may have walked past before. Now, what are the chances of that happening? I mean, I love this thing. I'm keeping it around me all the time. This my
I know what that is.
Yep, it's an Edison horn. Yep.
Yes, it is.
You can go and tell people all day long about these, but it's not going to make it any more or less likely that, you know, it's not going to affect their value because there is only a finite amount of them out there. And secondly, they're not the standard item that anyone's just, you know, someone's going to have to be there at the same place at the same time as you to, you know, to benefit from that. And you know what, if they beat you to the punch, then what I would say to that is good on you.
Yeah.
That means I have to be, you know, it's competition. Competition is healthy, guys. Don't hide away from it. You know, it's that scared mindset. It's that, you know, of, oh my God, it's ruined. You're ruining everything. And it just,
well, it's those people who are going to end up behind the 8 ball because, for one, apparently they think they know it all. So, and most of the people that are complaining that we share too much information and, you know, they're complaining about us sharing. For one, they're watching my YouTube video. Okay. So it's like, why are you even here? If you can't stand the idea of us sharing, then why are you even here?
Exactly.
Or they're in my reseller Facebook group. It's like, why are you even here?
Yeah.
You know, if you hate it so bad. But yeah, you'll take the nuggets. You'll take the nuggets, but you don't, you know, want to pass it on.
We're currently, we were hovering just under 180 viewers, which is fantastic. So if you enjoy this chat, if you enjoy what we've got to say and what Chad's got to say, give us a thumbs up. It just lets us know that you're liking it. I was going to say, I did have a video plan that I think I will do now about the whole BOLO thing, because I've had that accusation thrown at me. Nick, don't share these specific BOLOs. I used to do specific videos about stuff to look for. And only a couple of days ago, a friend of ours, Rachel, picked up a vintage Lynx aftershave thing. I can't remember exactly what it was, which I shared is a really good, there's a big collector's market for it here in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of days ago, she picked one up and sold it for £30, probably paid 50 pence. And I shared that bolo about 2.5 years ago. So I don't think the market's crashed on those.
Well, here's a good way to look at it, okay? On a very small scale. You have 5 people in this community, okay? Take our whole community down to 5 people, okay? You have this person over here, okay? You got this guy that gives a tip to these guys, okay? They're all taking this one person's tip, okay? Then what happens is, and this guy has his one thing that he knows. He shares with these 5, okay? Now this guy shares with the other 4. Okay, so now these guys have gotten 2 nuggets and this guy shared. Now this guy's sharing. So now you have 5 people who, what you're doing is you're educating 5 people with your one item, but you're getting back 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of education just by one. So that's what the way you need to look at it. I've been doing this for years, and I'm always learning new things from fellow resellers. So what's that telling me? It's better to network in this community than it is to be a loner and be that whiny person that's complaining how I can't make any money. And that's what it comes down to, really.
Yeah, a good friend of ours, Sam Tez Nutkins, is in the chat. He says, don't hate the player, hate the game. Play better, learn more, and be appreciative, which I think is fantastic.
You're a video game guy. I just had because I had the TurboGrafx, got a pretty big lot of TurboGrafx stuff, and I sold it all for really good money. And these gaming collectors hate us. They do. They hate us because he's like, it's people like you that stop us collectors from getting stuff at a decent price. It's like, yeah, well, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Get called scalpers and all kinds of things.
Yeah,
It's
I had some comments on a video a couple of days, but I think I shared them with Zaheer, a guy who was basically telling me that all resellers should be shot because we're taking the stuff out of the market so collectors can't buy it. Why is their right to pick up something more than my right to pick up something to feed my family?
Oh, they can buy it. They can buy it. They'll be buying it for me at a higher price. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things.
Moving away from that old Ponyo, I think it would be really cool if you could just share with us UK viewers your best pickup. I know about it. You've talked about it. I know you don't like to talk about it too much, but come on, it's an epic pickup. Once in a lifetime. If you could just share your Beatles LP.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Long story short, I bought a record collection for $400, and most of the Beatles records were sealed. I mean, Yellow Submarine, all the Beatles records were sealed. Most of them were. And I looked to make really good money on it. Well, there were 2 Sgt. Pepper's records in there, and that's the one where there's a big crowd of people.
Yeah.
But one was different than the other one, and I'm like, what in the world's the difference between these 2? You know? And I didn't know, but I had a really good friend who's a huge Beatles collector and record dealer. So I asked him, and he's like, I've heard about this. I've seen something about this, a different looking Sgt. Pepper's album. So he did some checking, and he calls me back. He's like, dude, are you sitting down? And I'm like, I am now. He says, this is the rarest record cover in the world. I'm like, what? He says, yeah, what it is, it's called the Capitol Records executive cover. And what happened was the success of the Sgt. Pepper's record at the end of the year, they had this big party. Well, what they did was the executives of Capitol Records, what they did is they took their faces and put them over the Beatles' faces and up in the crowd, and they gave them away at this party to the people who attended this success party.
Oh, wow.
There was only about 50 of them known to exist. So most of them probably made it in the trash because it was just like a party favor, type thing. And but we ended up taking it to Perry Cox, who's a world-renowned Beatles expert and authenticator. hand carried it to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. He authenticated it, and then it was valued at over $110,000.
Whoa.
And ours was the first one to ever go up for sale on the public market. We actually had a guy who owned one of the other ones. There's only like 3 known to exist. He wanted to buy it. He wanted to corner the market. So we're like, no, we'll take our chances. We got interviews from the UK, from Holland. TV1 interviewed us. And I mean, just all, what's that stupid rock magazine? Anyway, it was in there. But we ended up putting it on auction, and it sold for $32,500, a lot less than what, you know, it was worth, but it was a risky thing with it being the first one ever to be sold. And that was it.
Where did you sell it? Sorry to interrupt, but where did you sell it? What platform?
That Heritage Auctions.
Okay, so
yeah, and it took a long time to figure out what who to go to, because we contacted Sotheby's, Christie's. They all fought over it, and we ended up going with Heritage Auction, which that's a learning experience, because 10% is all we had to pay. And typically auction houses, you know, you're up to 30, 35%, but because they were fighting over it, they were lowering their percentage, and we got it for 10%. Yeah.
Well,
so
yeah, so they all really wanted to sell it because they knew it was a guaranteed sale.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep. Wow, we started it out at like 6,000, and it was exciting to watch it go. Like your video game was exciting, you know, at the end. It's
yeah.
But it was,
they don't come along very often, those moments. So you have to enjoy it while it's there.
Yeah, and then now you're chasing that high, you know, you're chasing that high because everybody talks about that once in a lifetime find, you know, but yeah, you just chase it. And
yeah. Peter Hill in the chat says, please don't tell everyone that gold is worth money or else I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh, it's the piece says we're the original recyclers. A lot of people complain about what we do, but man, resellers, we have a very important job in this society, and that's bringing a lot of things to the public that otherwise would have been thrown away or destroyed. And it happens daily.
Yeah, it's shocking what people throw away. I often tell the story. We had, as part of our reseller sort of life, we had a bricks and mortar store where we did video games, buying and selling video games. We had that for about 8 years. And the amount of people that would come in, they'd see our cabinets with consoles in, and they'd go, oh, I had one of those Super Nintendos. I threw it in the bin last week. Damn. And I'd hear this story so many times because these cabinets were just opposite our counter, and you'd hear people peering in, and they'd see, I don't know, the vintage NES machine, and they'd go, oh my God, they're worth 30 quid. I threw mine away. So many times people said it, and it's just soul destroying.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Stephen Steph says selling's the second oldest occupation in the world. And I say that all the time. I mean, being a hustler, I mean, back in Jesus' days, you know, they were on the streets, you know, buying and selling, and the oldest profession is prostitution, as we all know. But yeah, and I'm sure there was a guy trying to hustle that too. So,
oh, my friend Joe, my pack rat's in there. He says he was called a vulture once. He enjoyed that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, people do feel very strongly about it, but I think, to be fair, you have to accept that's just a bit of the green-eyed monster. Somewhere deep inside, they're just jealous that, you know, you're doing something that they're not able to do.
Yeah, and you have to keep in your mind, we are not doing anything wrong. We're just doing what any other retailer does. We are buying something at this price and selling it for this price. There is nothing wrong in what we do.
And our customers are grateful, because they're grateful that we're allowing them the opportunity. The amount of overseas buyers that I get that are so grateful because I've rescued something that was going to be trashed, and they've paid good money for it. And not only have they paid good money, they then thank me for, you know, charging them whatever I did and providing them with an item that means something to them. You know, you are doing a real good thing.
Well, Nick, you know that the estate I just got, all the uniforms.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them sold for $1,500. I had several of them sell for in the 900s. Those I know for a fact would have ended up in the trash, destroyed. And most of the other stuff would have too. But yeah, but those are museum pieces. I mean, people paying that much money for them, they really have a meaning, and they were this close to being just thrown away.
We'll share a bit about that, because didn't that whole hall, it's like an estate clearance in a way, didn't that come from sharing your business card? Was I right in that?
Yeah, ultimately what had happened was we had a local mom and pop thrift store as well as all the other thrift stores. We make a point to get to know the owners, and we make a point to, talk with them and, maybe buy something off of them, even though it's not worth it, to show that, like, look, we're putting our money into you. You're local. We support our local hustle. And you develop relationships. And somebody had came into this thrift store saying, we've got this house full of stuff. We need to get rid of it. Do you want to come and take it all away? And they're like, no, but there's somebody that we know that has, and they have our business cards right there. And they just called me and says, hey, we've got this person that. I'm like, oh, cool. And then we ended up tossing them a couple hundies and for their help after it was done. And that's how it happened. It's all about developing relationships with people. Yeah,
that hall was fantastic. That must
unbelievable. I'm not even I haven't even messed with it. There's so much more stuff, so much more in my garage. But yeah, it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving, that's for sure.
And at the same time, as Stephen Steph says, you're preserving history. You've done two things. It's going to be a gift that keeps on giving for yourself, but you've preserved history, and someone's going to cherish the items, aren't they?
The collectors that will end up with that stuff, they're paying good money because they really want that, and that's going to be preserved for hundreds of years, hopefully now.
Oh, there is no doubt. There is no doubt.
Provided a service, almost a national service. You've kept these treasures alive for future generations.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
Even the simple stuff is his military paperwork. I mean, I sold his actual military paperwork to one of the people that bought one of the outfits for $700 just for the paperwork, his military records. So everything's got a story. And if the more you have for this story, the better it is. It's called a grouping. And it's just a really neat situation. And I've learned so much more about the Vietnam era pilots. I've just cracked the surface, but it's so interesting.
Exactly. Neville's just commented. He says, when we have hard refuse here, that's things put out that isn't normal household rubbish. I see so much that could be used by someone, just thrown into the back of the truck and crushed. It's the same everywhere. On a daily basis, we throw away perfectly reusable items. Oh, it really, if I can't think about it too much, it winds me up.
Yeah.
I mean, I know go to the tip, like the local dump. I don't know what you call it over there in the States, and take things back from there that people were taking to just throw into landfill, and then they resell it from there. It's just crazy.
Yeah, we're a wasteful society, that's for sure.
Oh, totally.
I got a quick question. Maybe some of your viewers can help me, but I've done this before, and you've probably have dealt with them. The like the Logitech Wingmans, the joysticks and stuff like that. A lot of times after they sit for a long time, the rubber starts breaking down and it gets sticky.
Ah.
Okay. And I've got a Logitech, it's a smart remote I picked up, and the back of it, the black, it's sticky. It's like the rubber is breaking down, or the plastic's breaking down.
Yeah.
And it's becoming sticky. Does anybody know a way to stop the breakdown in, because this is $100 wireless, smart remote, but it's got that sticky, and I've had it before on the Logitech Wingman, and normally it's the soft plastic, or the rubber, to where it's just starts breaking down.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, if that's the actual chemicals in that breaking down, perhaps there isn't a way. But I'm sure somebody's got maybe has a solution somewhere. So if you know, drop it in the chat.
That would actually be really useful thinking about it, because there's a lot of items which that happens with. I found that it also happens on you know, the old mini disc and CD player pouches that Sony used to do, the old vintage Walkman pouches.
Oh
and
yeah,
they've got like a rubber trim around them, and they just flake off. But people like to buy those as well, so that would be
re-rubber it. Well, I don't think it's like rubber. I think it's the like
it
a
becomes
black
gooey.
plastic. Yeah. But on the joystick, the softer rubber on that would do it as well. Baking soda and water works well. Create a paste and rinse it off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen it on remotes as well.
Smart Reselling is Darren has got a YouTube channel as well, so that might be worth a go.
See, and that's what's so good about this community is, you know, when somebody, you know, has an issue, people are willing to step up and help. I've tried the rubbing alcohol. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Olive oil. It's almost like maybe something that would stop I restored mine with silicone and furniture wax.
You'll be experimenting all evening. Oh no, you go.
Oh yeah, I'll try all kinds of stuff, and I haven't taken the time to look ammonia. I think somebody's trying to get me sick here. Cyanide. Put some cyanide on there and rub it in real well, but don't wear gloves.
No, you did tell me before that you have plans to go to the beach, and I know it's 4th of July, so you've probably got much better places to be. We've been chatting for an hour, which has flown by. I always say that, but it feels like we've been talking for 20 minutes. It's bizarre.
Yes. Yes.
So unless any other quick questions come up, we will wrap this up. And what's that say? Oh, no, it's not a question. So
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I really do.
Our pleasure. So
are you going to be there Sunday night for the reseller 6-pack?
I'm planning to be there, yes. And let's do a plug for that, actually. If you don't already know, there's a show which moves around channels called the Reseller 6-pack. It's been on my channel and various other people. Chad is going to host it this Sunday. It goes out very late here in the UK. It starts at about 1 in the morning. What's the time it's aired in the US, Chad?
It would be 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, and 6 Pacific, I believe.
Right.
But yeah, it's always a good time. Always a good time. I watch it.
Yeah. So if you can join us for that, that would be fantastic. If you're not already subbed to Chad's channel, as we were saying, Chad has a fantastic YouTube channel. I'll put a link below. If it's not there already, just search Golden Finger Picker. It'll come straight up. And go over there and sub to Chad as well. And of course, Zaheer has a channel. If you're not subbed to Zaheer, why the hell not? It's fantastic. So there we go. We've come to the end of that. Thank you so much, Chad. Really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it.
That's all cool. And thanks, Zaheer, for being with us.
No, not at all. My pleasure. It's been fantastic talking to Chad and yourself as usual.
Brilliant. And then thanks for everybody in the chat. I'm humbled by the super chats that we had in today. That just blows my mind. So thank you so much for the people that did that, and for your questions and the comments. It was so hard to keep up. There's so much chat going on, which is lovely to see. So we've come to the end of another Tuesday Tat Chat. I think we're rapidly approaching 80 chats on this channel, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks, guys, and we'll speak to you all soon. Take care.
See you.
Thanks.